Hey there, friends. Jeff Fritz here, and I want to talk to you today about Blazor Pages. Now, we previously saw a bit about components and how every .razor file inside of a Blazor project is a component. It can be reused inside of other .razor files. Well, this time we're going to take a look at how we can make those files into pages. The exact same syntax, exact same behavior, but we're going to add the @page directive at the top of the Razor file, and it will be addressable. We'll be able to navigate to that location, and it will respond as a page inside of our application. And that little bit of routing that we're doing so that it specifies exactly where the URL is going to deliver us into those pages, we can tune and use that in order to set various parameters based on the folder structure of that page directive we're going to define. Finally, let's also take a look at what happens to that page when we want to apply a layout, a shared layout that all of our pages should consume and abide by. How do we tune that? How do we add features to that? And how do we create more layouts that we can choose between based on what pages we're navigating to? Come on, let's head over to the screens and take a look at how we can work with pages and layouts.
Here we are back in our startup application that we've been building through these series of videos, and I want to start talking about referencing those pages. And we see at the top of this page, on line 1, the index is defined as a page because it has the @page directive, and it's indicating that it answers on the /URL. At the root of our website, the home page is where we'll find this content being rendered, and sure enough, we see that in Microsoft Edge on the right side of the screen. Okay, makes sense, I can understand that. Let me now show you the counter page. And we see the counter page answers on the counter address specified there on line 1. Okay, makes sense. And this is the way that we can specify routing for all of our pages that we want to be interacted with from Blazor. If you can navigate to a page, it has this line defined in it. In fact, you can provide multiple page directives so that you can navigate to that page using different names and different URLs and still getting the same great content. So I can click on the counter here on the right and I get counter. I can also add to the top here @page do the stuff. I'll save that. I'll wait for my browser to refresh on the right side. And if I change that address from not just counter to do the stuff, I get the same page. I can navigate back and forth and still get to do the stuff brings me to counter. Okay, so I can provide alternate names for the same page, and Blazor knows how to handle that and route me appropriately to those pages. What if somebody tries to navigate to a page that doesn't exist? Well, if I were to go to just do, it comes back and says, sorry, there's nothing at this address. How does Blazor know how to do that? Where's that information coming from? Well, over here in our Blazor application, there is app.razor. When we click that open, we'll see there is a router that's defined for our application, and it specifies exactly where to find all the Razor components for this application. And it will indicate up here on the first line that it prefers exact matches. It wants the exact matching address inside that URL bar. And it also wants to find exactly the location, the name of that component inside of the various assemblies that it may look at. Now we see right at the top that it's going to look at the app assembly of the current assembly that our application is running in. Our program class lives in this project, so it's going to go look inside this assembly to find matching components, matching pages. If it's found one and it's going to pass along the route data, it routes the view as we see on line 3, and we've got a default layout specified as well. And you see it's called main layout. And Visual Studio is helping us out there by saying that it's actually first Blazor app.shared.main layout. More on that in a second. But if we don't find a matching page, this element down here between lines 5 and 9 is executed and presented. It shows a layout view with a specified layout being forced, and we're specifying that layout of main layout again with that sorry there's nothing at this address message. So what we've learned here is we can change the layout and we can change the content of this error message to say whatever we'd like just by changing this content here. And if I save and update that, my content, when the page isn't found, is updated inside the browser. Okay, I can control that. I can change my layout and I can interact with it. What's a layout? What does that mean? I remember layouts from ASP.NET, MVC, and how we used Razor over there. Is that a similar concept? Yes, it is. If we go over here and we look in the shared folder of our application, there we see main layout.razor. And if we open that, you see it has div class page, and the sidebar is defined with the navigation menu component called out. And I know it's the navigation menu component because it's highlighted in that bold purple text. I see the main element that's on the right side of the page that includes a link up at the top. And if I scroll over, you can see this is the About link that appears right here on the page. Finally, there's this @body indicator right here on line 14. This is telling Blazor this is where I want the contents of my pages to be written. Put all that for a page right here inside of this div. Makes sense. I can understand that. So our layouts can be specified and we can put this together very easily and share it throughout our application and create multiple layouts if we'd like. We can even have layouts inherit and be nested inside of other layouts. Let's also take a look at where the HTML tags that make up a page come from. And in this application, if we take a look in Pages, we have host CSHTML. This is the Razor template that's used inside of a Blazor server application to give us the rich HTML information, including all of our CSS style sheets, our location for where the Blazor application is going to be rendered, right here where it says component, and information about error handling user interface. Finally, a script that's going to start up the Blazor server. So we have the format of our page defined here in the host, all the web stuff that we need to bootstrap and run our server. Let's go back to counter for a second. And we saw how we can have multiple page indicators up here at the top, specifying where to listen to get that counter page to appear. I can also add routing information to that page directive so I can specify additional parameters that I may want to capture from the address bar to pass into my Blazor components. Consider, what if we want to have a different starting value for this counter? Well, I can also specify a starting value as a route element like this. And I can pass that into a parameter by specifying another property down here in the code block. Easy enough. I'll save that and let my page refresh. And right now it looks the same. We haven't seen any change, but let's start off with that current count having the same value as the starting value that's being passed in. I'll add one method to set that current count appropriately from the starting value. And my application refreshes, and the current count starts at 0. I haven't specified a value to pass in. Now, in order for me to make sure that a starting value is an integer, is a numeric value that the router is going to pass correctly into my property, I need to add a route constraint to that page directive on line 2. So I'll just put a :int there to specify that this is expecting a number that we're going to pass along into that starting value parameter, and it's going to be maintained as an integer. So I'll just change my location here, and I'll navigate to /5, and my counter starts at 5. I can click through, and it behaves just fine, just the way that we expected it to. And if I go back to the home page, my counter there still functions the same way that we had it run before. If I want to change the layout for one page alone, if I want to go to my counter page here and change the layout for this page, I can use a layout directive here and specify a new name for our layout that we want to display with this page alone. Easy enough. There is so much that we can do with this. This is just the tip of the iceberg for us to use different layouts, set up our pages so it responds and interacts in different ways. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you tune in for our next video in the series, where we're going to be talking about binding data with Blazor.